I truly believe the only thing that separates someone from stepping into the life that they envision for themselves is their belief system. It's letting go of the limiting beliefs that hold you back from stepping into creating the life you want for yourself. And over the last 10 years, I have been on that journey myself, driving Uber full-time while I was building my first podcast, working at Liquid IV full-time while continuing to build my coaching business and content brand on the side, to then finally fully stepping in and taking the leap at the top of this year to go all in on my business. Each of those three subchapters, I have had to break down so many limiting beliefs that could have easily stopped me and prevented me from creating that I live today. And I want to share some of them with you today in the hopes that maybe one of these beliefs is something that you're currently working through, and maybe this episode can give you the perspective that will finally allow you to overcome it and step into the life that you so badly deserve for yourself. Number one, I'm not good enough. Just saying that belief out loud makes me go all the way back to 2016 when I'm launching my first podcast and I have no idea what I'm doing, but I tell myself, I'm just going to start, I'm going to see what happens, and we're just going to go from there. If I had allowed myself to really listen to this mindset of, or this belief of I'm not good enough, I wouldn't have ever gotten started with the podcast. I would have, chose not to do it, get a full-time gig doing something I didn't want to do, and who knows where I would have ended up. But I've really reshaped my mindset on I'm not good enough to understanding I'm not going to be perfect when I first get started. I need to start in order to someday become great. Always the student, never the master. There's always going to be room to grow. I don't need to strive for perfection. I just need to strive to get started. And so when I have started to look at it in that frame, I just allow myself to actually take the steps necessary. And anytime I feel this limiting belief kind of arise again, I can close my eyes, I can feel into it, I can sit with it, I can observe it, I can try to understand where it's coming from, and then I allow myself to pass through it and just get started. What also really helps is action. Taking action allows me to not get caught up in overthinking. And so that's what's helped me overcome this I'm not good enough. I am good enough. I'm good enough to get started. I'm worthy enough to get started. I have the potential and ability to see where something could take me if only I allow myself to do. And also, even in the in-between of maybe it's something that I have been doing, such as this podcast. I've been, at this point, recorded 400 or 500 podcasts in my career. I'm always going to be on a journey of getting better. I'm a much better podcaster today at episode 260 something than I was when I recorded episode 1. And even episode 260 of this show, I still did another show with 150 episodes. So really, this is episode 500 at this point under my belt. I still have room to grow. And I accept that. I acknowledge that. I think some of the greatest experts and leaders in this world speak in this way, in this frame, in this perspective, because they always understand that there's more room to grow. So it's taken time, it's taken effort, but being able to let go of I'm not good enough has allowed me to just take a step towards the life that I want to create for myself. Number 2, I don't have enough time. When I hear myself even say that out loud, I don't have enough time, what I'm really saying is I don't want to prioritize this. Because if it was something I wanted to prioritize, I would create the time for it. So what's really helped me over the last even just 2 years is fully recognizing and taking responsibility that I'm in control of my time and how I spend it. If there's something that I want to be part of my life, I can create time for it. And if I find myself creating excuses or whatever that might be, I maybe have to double click and ask myself, is this something I really want to call into my life? And maybe I just need to let it go, or maybe I need to put it on pause. So there's an abundance of time. And that's why I'm a huge digital calendar advocate, because it helps me build out my days and weeks so I know when to do what. And anytime there's something on my calendar where I know that I need to create time for it, but I don't see space on my calendar to do it, well, that's when I need to start getting rid of certain things to then create space for the things that do matter. I also think having a schedule has created urgency in my day. So I'm maximizing more time in my day than I think most people do. I get up at the same time every day. I go to sleep at the same time. I still get 8 hours of sleep. I am very punctual, and my days kind of just fall one foot in front of the other. Definitely having that healthy pressure throughout my day can sometimes bite me, but I think it's also what helps me be who I am and create the life that I'm living today, and being able to juggle all these different things in my personal, professional life. So having not enough time is just an excuse. If it's something that I want to prioritize, I will create time for it. And if it is something I want to prioritize and I don't see where to put it on my calendar, then that just means something else needs to go. So saying I don't have enough time has definitely been an excuse I've tried to utilize before. And now I'm really honest with myself of like, is this something I truly want to prioritize? Maybe now is not the right time. Maybe I need to pause and revisit this at a later date. And that's what I do. Number 3, it's too late for me. This one can really, really stop people from taking that step, right? I don't think it's ever too late, right? The best time to have started may have been years ago. The second best time to start is right now. I really only allow myself just a few seconds to like play out the narrative of like, if only I had started before, then I would be so much better, right? Even seeing the landscape of social media today. Had I got started 2 years earlier than I did with TikTok, I probably would have had a much different amount of success on the platform than I do presently. And that's okay, right? I can play out that narrative. But the thing is, me creating that narrative, playing that out in my mind, it gets me nowhere. What is done is done. So I can either take that step forward today and start making the change in my life, or I give myself an excuse that it's too late, that I can't do it, and that I need to move on and forget about it. But I don't like to let time be a limit. It's never too late. That's why I'm such a huge advocate if people want to make massive changes in their life. Yes, it may feel uncomfortable. It may feel like you don't know exactly how things are going to play out, but it's never too late. I saw a Twitter post a few years ago, and it was calling out some of the most successful people in the world and at the age of when they got started. I think Morgan Freeman was an example. He was like 45 or 50 when he first started acting. If we allow it's too late to play out, we're really just blocking ourselves from just seeing what magic could happen. So whenever I find myself in that mindset of, it is too late, I just tell myself, it may have been better to start years ago, but that second best time to start is right here, right now. Number 4, I need approval from others. Ooh, this one's a barn burner. The amount of people that I think really allow others to guide their life. So 2 things come to my mind. One is, are we really living our life if we allow the thoughts, opinions, perspectives of other people to influence the decisions we make, right? I can think back on kids I went to college with when we were graduating, and they said, the job that they were doing after they graduated and how their parents were forcing them to do that. How terrible that must have been for them to have to go do something they don't want to do. I also like to think of the metaphor of, are you in the driver's seat of your life, or are you in the passenger seat and allowing someone else to drive it for you? We don't need approval from others. We need to give ourselves the approval to do the things we want to do, to create the life we want to create. It can feel extremely uncomfortable to go down a path, to be doing something that everyone else is questioning, right? When I started driving Uber full time and was starting my podcast, everybody was questioning, what do you mean? You're not getting a job? You'll have a top business school university in your back pocket, you're 6 figures in debt and you're not getting a job? Or, oh wow, you have this comfortable, high-paying salary career with benefits and time off at Liquid IV. You're going to just leave that all to start this business on the side? If I allowed any of that to play in my mind, and I really held on to people's opinions, I would not have manifested or created the life I live today, period. I really do believe if you're trying to live a life by design, 100% authentic to you, you have to let go of anyone's approvals, anyone's opinions, anyone's perspectives, and it's really hard. It's really, really hard to do, but it's absolutely necessary. And so with that in mind, I don't look for approval from others. As long as internally it feels right for me, I allow myself to move forward, and I do just that. Number 5, I don't have the resources. This one kills me. When I started my podcast, the first 3 years of the show was shot in what I call the bedrudio, the bedroom studio. I literally would be shooting the podcast against the wall with the microphone, the table, the camera facing it, and behind the camera was legit my bed. There were times when I would have group episodes, I would have to flip my mattress up against the wall, then flip the bed frame up against the wall to create enough space to host all 4 of us in there, plus a cameraman who was shooting BTS behind the scenes. I didn't allow lack of resources to block me from doing the thing. Had I don't even know what my life would have looked like. The flip side is I think too many people will be faced with indecision and overwhelm because of the abundance of resources they have access to. I know of a company that will stay nameless that, to keep it high level and not get into the details, was based out in LA, and I through word of mouth, I had heard that they were shutting down because of lack. They had spent all the money they had raised. And part of me felt bad. The other part of me felt like kind of resentful because I've spent the last 8 years building my career with little to no budget, and I've made it work. And this was a company that had raised a lot of money and had somehow found a way to blow it all within a year, 2 years, 2 or 3 years. If I was in their shoes, that would not have happened, because I always am able to make it work with little to nothing at all. So having a lack of resources is not the problem. You have to think, and when I say you, I'm really speaking to myself. I've had to think outside the box. I've had to get creative. I've had to be able to make it work with the little amount of money that I've had. And in those earlier moments, was it ideal? No. Did I want to have a full studio to myself? Absolutely. But I'm so grateful that I learned those lessons then, because now that's how my mind operates. I make it work with whatever I've got. I've already played out in my mind, like if I was walking down the street and I ran into Gary Vee, present day, and I had my 2 wireless mics and just my iPhone, and I couldn't set up some fancy studio, I wouldn't miss a beat. I would capitalize on the opportunity. And so resources is not the problem. The ability to think outside the box, to be creative, is the problem. And letting go of that belief that you need to have access to all the resources, that I've needed to have access to all the resources to be able to do, is completely false. And that's really helped me big time. Number 6, I need to know everything before I start. It's impossible to sit here present day and create the perfect blueprint of how everything's going to play out for my life, inside and outside of my business, for the next 6 months to a year, is impossible. I was on a coaching call with someone earlier this week, and I shared with them how I spend like 1% of my time and energy thinking about the future, and 99% of it focused on right here, right now. I'm a present day operator. I like to have an idea of where I'm trying to go. But other than that, I'm going right back to the present moment, because I understand that priorities, goals, interests, they change. And so with that in mind, I try to just make the best of the day-to-day moments. So if I'm someone, and I used to be someone thinking that I need to know everything before I start, now I look at it as I'm going to get going and figure it out as I go. I'm going to build the blueprint as I go. I said this quote earlier, always a student, never the master. As long as I'm a student and I'm trying to learn and I'm putting one foot in front of the other, we're heading in the right direction. But to think that I need to be some expert when I get started, it's false. You only become better or amateur or expert level by doing. Therefore, if I need to know everything before I start, I'm never going to actually get started. So I always tap into what internally feels right. If it's this new workout schedule, if it's this new community that I want to tap into, if it's a new creative project, I just throw myself into it. I see where I end up. I reassess. Number 7, change is too difficult or risky. Change can be difficult and risky. I just hit 1 year of living in Austin, and that change was in of itself difficult and risky. I was leaving a city of Los Angeles of 6 years where I had built my name, my brand, community for 6 years. And I rolled the dice coming to a city where I only knew a few people and I trusted that I would find a way to make it work. There was difficulties along the way. It was a risky decision, but I made it work. I allowed myself to step into that uncomfort and go into it full speed ahead. So we can either view change as difficult and risky, or we can view it as a good challenge with a lot of reward. We can treat it and look at it as an adventure. We can understand that it's a it might be a two-door decision, as Jeff Bezos would say, where you can step through the door, you can check it out. If it doesn't feel right, you can leave. Change is inevitable. It's going to happen. There's nothing you or I can do anything about it. The sooner that I've been able to just come to peace and accept that, I don't resist it anymore. I just accept. I pivot. I allow it to come. And so recognizing it's going to happen, my priorities are going to change, my interests are going to change, my lifestyle is going to change. It's okay. It may be difficult, may be uncomfortable, may feel a little risky, but through it, I'll come out on the other side. Number 8, I've already failed before, so why try again? There is no such thing as failure. It's either a winning decision or it's a learning opportunity. It's a winning decision. You got what you were looking for. Great. You're pumped. You're excited. Awesome. It's a learning opportunity where you try for something, it doesn't work out, but you got a piece of wisdom that is going to help change you and help you adapt for the future and help you grow in some capacity. That's a win. Therefore, there is no such thing as failure. I have completely eliminated the word failure in my vocabulary because I don't believe it exists anymore. How can something be a failure if I'm learning from it? Failure is inevitable, quote unquote, failure, right? Like shooting for a goal and not reaching it, that's going to happen. If anything, that should be a motivator for us to go back at it again. I'm not worried about what this podcast episode does. Whether 100 people listen, 1,000 people listen, whether it gets 10 shares, 100 shares, I will learn something in this process. To get myself to believe that I failed at one thing, so why should I try again? That's a limiting belief. That is preventing me from evolving to the version of myself I want to be. Every person that I look up to and am inspired by in every aspect of my life, they are able to continue showing up even when they face these roadblocks. I'd call the failures speed bumps. It's a little bump in the road, maybe a little turbulence, whichever metaphor you prefer, but you keep going. Car gets over the speed bump, the plane keeps going in the same direction. Failure doesn't exist. Number 9, I don't deserve success. That's a limiting belief. Luck is when opportunity meets preparation. if I've been doing the work and I've been consistent and I've been patient and I've had the ups and downs, the lefts and rights, the forward, backwards, one step forward, two steps back, two steps forward, one step back, but I'm still showing up, and then something happens and the results pay off and it's in my favor, I've earned it. I deserve it. I damn well should welcome it with open arms. Every single person that's listening to this podcast right now, you deserve success. So long as you're showing up and you're doing the work. That's it. I don't want no handouts. I don't want to skip steps. I want to get what is earned by me. And if I'm doing the work, then I damn well deserve it. It's not from an ego standpoint. It's not standing on the mountain thinking I'm better than everyone else. It's here's my resume. Here's the 500 podcasts I've recorded. Here's the thousands of social media pieces I've put out. Yes, I do want to celebrate that brand partnership. Yes, I do want to celebrate that new client coming in the door. Yes, I do want to celebrate turning my coaching business to a 6-figure business. I deserve that because I've been putting in the work. Anyone that thinks otherwise for themselves, that they don't deserve success, is wrong. You're limited by either your environment or these belief patterns inside your mind. We all deserve success so long as we're showing up and we're doing the work. Ooh. I'm just pausing and thinking about some of these beliefs and how much different I view them present day in 2024 than I probably did in 2016. And I'm grateful. And I can truly say that I only have the perspective that I have because I've consistently showed up. I keep doing the work. I'm always learning. I'm not afraid to ask questions. I'm never the smartest person in the room. I just every single day am working towards growing 1% better. And over the last 8 years, that compound effect has really, really paid off. I want to share with you guys and gals a few things that are happening in my world just in case they may be of interest to you. Number one is right now, I'm onboarding the last clients of my one-on-one coaching program for the rest of the year. If you are someone that is looking to optimize your life, right? Let go of burnout, let go of some of these limiting beliefs. You're looking to step into a reality that you feel you've wanted for yourself, right? You're someone that's neglecting important areas of your life. You're distracted with work. You're maybe not as effective and efficient during your day. You don't know how to set boundaries. You're people pleasing. You're waking up every day not excited about the life you're living. You feel like you could be living up to a better potential of you. Well, that's where my program comes into place. If that is something that you may be interested, I have 5 spots left. I'm onboarding the rest of these clients through the month of September, and that will be the last time of this year. The program will not open again until 2025. If that's of interest, head to bobbyhobert.com. Under coaching, my one-on-one program, you can fill out an application. Number 2 is men's coffee and cold plunge meetup here in Austin, Texas on September 21st at 7 a.m. at Sapien Center. Just hosted the first one this past weekend with 2 of my buddies, 2 great facilitators. We had about 20 guys show up. Such an incredible experience. Had so many guys coming up as they were leaving saying, hey, can you do this again? Will you do this again? And so we're going to do our best to make this a monthly meetup. Great men coming together to just connect over coffee, cold plunges, and just have genuine, deep, authentic conversations. So if that's of interest, September 21st, 7 a.m. at Sapien Center. There's 30 tickets available. I think we have about 20 left. You can shoot me a DM on Instagram and just shoot me the DM with the word plunge, and I will send you the invite. Last thing, it's going to be here before you know it, but in November, I am hosting my first ever Design Your Life men's retreat here in Austin, Texas. It's going to be 3 nights and 4 days on a luxury property here in Austin, Texas. There will be 6 guys. I will have a private chef on staff. We will be doing workshops, workouts, meditations, group work, solo work. There will be multiple workshops throughout the weekend. It's the first time I've ever hosted a retreat, and it's going to be just the beginning of many. And I'm really, really excited. This is such a great opportunity for someone who is lacking living a life by design, isn't excited about the life they're living, feels like things need to be addressed or changed. You're looking for more community of like-minded men. This is a great place to start. So if that's of interest, head over to bobbyhobert.com, look for group programs, and then look for Austin Men's Retreat. 6 spots available. We have 5 left. If that's of interest, I would encourage you to act on it quickly, fill out the app, and we will go from there to make sure it is the right fit for you. Thank you for tuning in. I really hope this episode helped change your perspective on beliefs and mindsets. And if you have any other further questions, please do not hesitate to shoot me a DM on Instagram at Bob-A. That's B-O, 3 B's, 4 A's, and a Y. If you enjoyed this episode, please screenshot it, post it to your IG story, and tag me. It really does help the show, and it also probably will help someone that's following you on social media and maybe is looking to change their mindsets as well. So please share it out. It makes a difference. Thank you for tuning in. It's the Bearded Man Podcast. I will see you guys and gals on the next one.